Arsenal strike, full agreement, to bring in seventh signing with place star waiting a few weeks for deal. Arsenal are set to make a bid for Eberechi Eze after a full agreement was struck for the Crystal Palace star on Saturday, according to reports. The Gunners have been very busy in the transfer market in recent weeks with Kepa Arrizabalaga, Martin Zubimendi, Christian Norgard, Victor Gyökeres, Christian Mosquera and Noni Madueke signing so far this summer. And then Arsenal are set to look to sign another attacking player before the window shuts, with Crystal Palace's Eze often linked to the Gunners this summer. Journalist Charles Watts, who has covered Arsenal for years, recently claimed that the Gunners will now look to move some players on before bringing in a left-sided attacker. Watts wrote on his Caught Offside column earlier this week, "Once the Gyökeres deal is confirmed, I think Arsenal's attention in the market will shift towards trying to move some players on. The squad does look a bit bulky now, with a few players clearly going to be struggling for minutes next season. Arsenal keep or sell, Martinelli, Zinchenko gone but Trossard, Havertz stay. So Arsenal will look to try and get some outgoing sorted, potentially for players like Fabio Vieira, Sambi Lokonga, Reece Nelson and maybe Alexander Zinchenko. I do still feel like there is scope to bring in one more new addition before the window closes, however. There is still a long time left in the market and it wouldn't shock me if Arsenal still look to do something. We know they are looking at options for that left-sided attacking role, with Eberechi Eze, Rodrigo and Anthony Gordon believed to be of interest. Whether Nwaneri's new deal puts a stop to that I'm not sure, but I really don't believe it should. Nwaneri is much more of a right-sided option, whether that be on the wing or in the more central role that Martin Odegaard usually operates. And now French outlet Sports Zone claim Arsenal have now reached a full agreement to sign Eze and that they are about to bid for the England international. Sports Zone wrote on X, EXCL. Arsenal Football Club strikes full agreement with Eberechi Eze. 27-year Crystal Palace winger is keen on move since few weeks. Arsenal is about to bid Crystal Palace for the first time, otherwise, they are considering trigger the £60 million plus £8 million release clause. Former Arsenal midfielder Paul Merson reckons Eze has all the right qualities to be a success at the Emirates Stadium if he joins this summer. Merson said on Sky Sports, "Now that's a deal I can see happening, and it would be a brilliant signing for Arsenal. He's perfect. Arsenal struggle when teams come to the Emirates and put everyone behind the ball. Teams want to limit the space Arsenal have to play in, and they have struggled to break teams down with those tactics. For me, that's where Eze comes in. He's got the X factor and the ability to break a low block down." Mikel Arteta provides immediate Riccardo Calafiori injury update after Newcastle fixture. Mikel Arteta has issued an update on Riccardo Calafiori after the Italian defender was forced off through injury against Newcastle United. Arsenal win again in preseason. After emerging victorious against AC Milan, the Gunners have now beaten Eddie Howe's Newcastle side. They came back from 1-0 down in the first half, thanks to a Mikel Merino strike and an own goal. Newcastle then drew level through Jacob Murphy, before young Max Daumann won a penalty for Martin Odegaard to convert. But it wasn't all celebratory. Italian defender Riccardo Calafiori was forced off with an injury. The boss has now provided an update on this. Riccardo Calafiori injury update. The Spaniard was asked about the extent of Calafiori's injury at full-time. Mikel Arteta said, "He felt something. A little tweak. I don't know how big it is. Calafiori has been very unlucky with injuries at Arsenal, which is so frustrating for supporters, as when fit, he's an absolute brute of a defender." The medical team will now once again assess the Italian, but this is becoming a regular occurrence at the Emirates. Riccardo Calafiori injury history. The 23-year-old's injuries are becoming a bit of a concern. With today's knock, he's now had 7 at Arsenal alone. Arsenal signed Calafiori from Bologna in late July 2024, paying an initial fee of around £33.6 million, with add-ons potentially raising the total to £42 million. This is a fee that, with every injury, looks worse and worse. How serious this one is remains to be seen, but not promising signs for Arteta, or Calafiori. Victor Gyökeres could now cause Mikel Arteta to revert to his original Kai Havertz tactic. It may create havoc. Victor Gyökeres was presented by Arsenal in Singapore before the 3-2 win against Newcastle, but it was Kai Havertz who stole the show in the opening 45 minutes. The Germany international grabbed 2 assists in the space of just 2 minutes to put Arsenal 2-1 up against the Magpies, showing real inventiveness to create space in congested areas. It was a display more akin to that of a creative midfielder than a natural striker, which opens the door for Mikel Arteta to now implement his initial plan for Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz could now change position after arrival of Victor Gyökeres. After many weeks, and a sum of £64 million, were spent on bringing Victor Gyökeres to the Emirates Stadium, it is safe to assume the Swede will start immediately. However, it would be unfair of Arteta to drop Havertz following his superb performances so far this summer, where he has scored in a 3-0 win over Watford and also provided 2 smart assists against Newcastle. Therefore, we believe the German could finally be moved into an 0-8 role on the left side of a midfield trio. The Athletic stated back in August 2023 that this was actually Arteta's original plan for Havertz, who also looks noticeably bulkier this summer. However, Gabriel Jesus suffered a knee injury shortly after the 26-year-old arrived in North London, prompting him to be moved up to the vacant number 9 position where he has now played most of his football for Arsenal. Kai Havertz feeding Victor Gyökeres could be a nightmare for opponents. Deploying Havertz as a number 8 behind Gyökeres, who Sporting CP fans still adore despite his messy exit, could well prove to be a masterstroke from Arteta if it happens. Both of the Arsenal No-29's assists against Newcastle came from areas where a left-sided No-8 would usually roam, showing great awareness to set up Mikel Merino with a deft flick, before displaying impressive athleticism to burst down the left and whip in a cross for the second goal, which Alex Murphy finished into his own net. Therefore, it would not seem as if Havertz will get in the way of Gyökeres by operating in this No-8 role, where Ian Wright thinks he should play, should Arteta put it into action, and the duo can coexist in such a system. Furthermore, Havertz previously rose to prominence as a wonderkid at Bayer Leverkusen whilst playing as an attacking midfielder, while Gyökeres can boast a status of being a proper finisher with 97 goals in 102 games for Sporting CP. In that respect, this could be a match made in heaven for Arsenal, and the partnership Arteta wanted all along.